Chapter 9, God of the Gaps, or Gaps about God. In our final chapter in the book, we will turn our attention to skeptics and to common misunderstandings about God and about the Bible. The world, of course, is replete with Bible skeptics. The reason for skepticism might be indicated in this figure. Many people own a Bible, but not everyone reads it. And perhaps it would be safe to say that even fewer put it into practice. But some skepticism about God in the Bible has to do with the dichotomy of the two topics of the book, science and faith. Science is generally viewed as being full of logic and clarity. Faith, or ideas in the Bible, are considered to be feeling-based. I agree with the scientific description. Faith is not always about using our feelings and leaving thinking aside. Far from it. Indeed, faithful would be served well if they proceed in their faith, much like a scientist makes tests to evaluate their science. Today, many equate God with the gods of long ago. Centuries ago, there stood at the entrance of the port of Rhodes, modern-day Greece, an enormous statue of Helios, god and personification of the sun. The statue was known as the Colossus of Rhodes. It was constructed in 280 BC, measuring 33 meters high. Ancient Greece was full of idols, and this was only one. People worshipped stone statues, allocated things that were not necessarily gods. But this is not the message of the Bible. As a matter of fact, this is exactly the message what Paul, the Apostle Paul, was preaching to the philosophers and educated people at the Areopagus in ancient Greece, as this painting by Raphael in 1515 indicates. His message is recorded in the book of Acts. Paul said, "As I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, to an unknown God." So you are ignorant of the very things you worship, and this is what I'm going to proclaim to you. Paul proceeded to announce the characteristics of God. One God. It's very understandable why the Bible has many skeptics. The city of Berea, a city in northern Greece, also a place where Paul preached, is a place where people actually picked up the ancient scrolls and read about the ancient prophecies after Paul preached to them. They wanted to see if what he had said is accurate. They had in many ways an attitude that was scientific as they proceeded to understand and verify their faith, what would become of their faith, and what was told to them by the Apostle Paul. Finally, we'll address the issue, a huge issue, about light and darkness, the issue of sin. Though none of us like to discuss this, much of the skeptics' criticism about faith and the Bible has to do with how this term has been distorted or misunderstood. We'll look at this problem with a fresh understanding in the eyes of a scientist. We leave you with this thought. Enjoy your searching for God. It's somewhat like climbing a mountain with God at the top. Don't stop climbing.